That
So
is
say
true.
I come in here and show you what I do. It might not work for you, and it might not be the best way, and I might kind of show it a little shitty.
It is a sport and it can be a hobby, but at its core, it's fighting. All right, so I got Kirk Huff with me today, the owner, operator, founder of Arnold BJJ. He's got a big tournament coming up this weekend in New Orleans. We're going to go down there, film some of that, and we're going to interview him, talk to him a little bit about how he got into martial arts, a little bit of the backstory, life story, and pretty much anything he wants to talk to us about. So if you're a fan of grappling, MMA, he's done it all. So Kirk, thank you for being here with us today. Are you excited
Oh, for what?
for what we're doing here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I like doing the podcast. It's fun.
Yeah, awesome. So why don't you tell us how did you get into martial arts and how old were you?
I mean, I was high school age, probably like 14, 15. It is the classic story of like he discovered the Hoist Gracie tapes. Like, what is this dude doing?
Right. What year was that?
I'm guessing around 2003, 2004.
2003, 2004. You're probably 8th grade, freshman high school.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't remember the exact time, but around that.
Right. UFC starts getting kind of popular. They're starting to
Yeah.
show it on TV. And you're impressionable age and you're just like, all right, I gotta do this.
Yeah, I remember like all my friends were into it, and like I was like when the UFC only had like a few years, so it's like there was hype
Right.
behind it. Then your buddies would all like pitch together money and buy it on pay-per-view and watch it together.
Yeah.
Better times for MMA.
Right. Back when like the fights were still mismatched, like you had real heavy guys fighting small guys, and
No, it
was it still starting to get sophisticated by
Yeah,
then?
there's weight classes by then. I remember
Okay.
like BJ Penn being big, and then George St. Pierre, and
Yeah.
there's
yeah.
definitely weight classes by then.
Right. Okay. So, so I've talked to you, obviously you're kind of my coach and I've talked to you briefly a little bit here and there. But the last time I talked to you, you said you weren't like a street fighter. You kind of got into it. A lot of people get into MMA and jiu-jitsu and wrestling from fighting outside of a gym, but you kind of discovered it all from being in a gym.
Yeah, I wasn't not much like a fighter on the streets. I was always smaller, so like high school I was 135 pounds. That's where.
But no one ever like fucked with you, tried to bully you around.
No, not really. A lot of my friends wrestled, and I was never really bullied. I'd always stand up for myself. But
Right.
I was never bullied.
But never, it wasn't like one of those, hey, I grew up fighting in the streets.
No,
and
there was a
took it to
boxing
the-
gym up the street from the house, and like we went there, but I was always like interested in stuff like that. But I was never like on the street fighting.
Right. Did your parents encourage you to do martial arts or?
No, not really. I know my mom didn't like me boxing. But I don't think anybody like parents always kind of let me do what I wanted. I played hockey. That was the main focus. But I mean, they supported me in whatever I wanted to do.
Right. So you had a pretty good upbringing. Mom and dad both in the house.
Yep.
That's awesome. That always helps a lot. It seems like a lot of, the stories you hear people getting into fighting, they grew up kind of in a rough place, rough household, and then fighting was kind of like their outlet to, any sort of success in life, kind of brought them some peace.
I
But
don't really have any gritty story like
yeah,
that.
you're just basic.
Yeah. Nothing.
That's totally fine though. I mean, you've come a long way. You've done a lot in the sport. For how old are you now?
36.
36. Okay, so you're not really that much older than me. So were you ever into wrestling? Did you start wrestling, or was it just boxing?
I wrestled in high school.
Wrestled in high school at Fox, right?
Yep, right across.
Right across the street. So who was your coach back then?
Donnie Mitchell was the head coach when I was there.
Is he still the coach
No,
there?
he was out of the program. Probably, I think after my senior year.
Did you go to college for wrestling or anything?
No, I
like
played
that?
hockey in college.
Oh, that's
at,
right.
At Lindenwood.
Hockey. Okay, so there had to have been some fights there.
Never really fought in
Didn't
hockey.
fight in hockey?
No, I mean it's not the same as like the NHL where you can legally fight. It was but yeah.
Yes. So the high school I went to, we didn't have hockey or anything like that. we're from the country, so it's pretty small.
Yeah, it's not as popular.
Right. So what year did you start training with? How did you find like Vagi?
So Vagi was down in Fenton, like 2006, 2007, and that's where I started like this summer, and then I trained there for like a summer, and then I went to Lindenwood for college, and Mike Rogers had a gym right down the street from Lindenwood.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if you're a fight fan, you're from Missouri, you've definitely heard of Mike Rogers. He's been around since the beginning, and he's, I don't know, how many people has he sent to multiple, fighting organizations? He sent people to the UFC.
I'm guess 10.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'd have to think about it.
Local legend. Was he ever a fighter?
Yeah, he fought he had quite a. I bet he had 15 fights.
Was he ever in the UFC or anything?
No. I think he fought in King of the Cage. You can look up his share dog, but
Right.
yeah, he fought in maybe Rumble in the Rock. I'm not sure, but I mean he had a lot of fights.
So you started Vaggies like right after college, and then you've just been with him pretty much ever since.
Yeah. So.
Or affiliated with Vaggies gyms.
Yeah, pretty much the whole time that I've been doing this. Mainly with Mike. I've been since 2007 and coming up on, 10 years now? No,
Yeah.
more than that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been
20.
Yeah, almost 20.
Jesus.
That's crazy. So what year did you get your black belt?
I got to think about it. So I've had a black belt for 5 years. So 5 years ago, I think around 2018, 2019.
Were you more into like the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, like the grappling side, or did you always want to be like, did you have pro fighting? Was that more the direction you wanted to go?
I had 5 pro fights. I like doing MMA. I always liked the grappling aspect more, and I still was competing in grappling. But I mean, for an extended period of time, the focus was MMA. But I mean, ultimately,
How old were you in your first MMA match? Do you remember it?
I know I wasn't 21. I know that because it was.
Were you supposed to be?
No, but I remember that I was in a bar and I couldn't get in afterwards. I remember.
Oh shit! Who'd you fight?
Dan Bush, who actually ended up training with me. I know him pretty well. It's funny because I was gonna take the fight, and there's a kid I went to high school with named Dan Bush. And he's like, I knew him. Mike's like, oh, you want to fight this guy? He lives down by you, Dan Bush. I was like, yeah, I know him. I think I could probably beat him up. But it was a different Dan Bush. I was like, oh shit, that's not the same guy.
Right. But did you win?
Yeah, I won. I won a decision.
Okay, and then you fought. How long did you fight MMA? Like,
oh man, let's see. About a 6 or maybe 8-year run. I had 15 amateur MMA fights, ton of amateur bouts, and then I turned pro in 2013 ish. And
what organizations did you fight for?
Just locally, there was the Rumble time when that was still in St. Louis, then Shamrock. I kind of went 3-1. Then I had one a few years ago, and it was I won DQ, so I had 5.
Shamrock is Finney's thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you fought for them. Do you think you'd ever take another MMA fight, or is it like, nah, fuck that?
When I took the one a few years ago, I kind of wanted to do one more just to see if I could do it and train for it. And then I ended up taking 4 or 5 days notice. I mean, I'd say probably not. It would be fun to train for one and do one more before, I'm 36. How much time do I have left realistically?
Right.
The window is probably very close. I don't want to regret it in a few years. I'm it would have been fun to do one more. But if I literally never do one, I think I can sleep just fine at night.
Right.
No issue.
Yeah, it's a dangerous sport, and it's not easy on you. So, hang on just a second. I got another question that I wanted to ask you. So we know that we might see you in the cage again. If you could fight one person though, who would it be? Like locally, through the world, doesn't matter.
Are you talking about an MMA fight?
MMA fight. If you could fight one person.
I don't know if I have anybody in mind.
Not Mike Tyson or Jake Paul.
Well, yeah, if they paid me enough to fight either one of those guys for the money, that'd be great. But like a personal grudge, no, I don't really have anybody that I would want to fight per se.
Really? Damn. I was kind of hoping you was gonna call somebody out there.
No,
it's all good though. Kirk's not much for calling people out though. You're just pretty chill.
People out.
Yeah. So have you been in a street fight before?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bouncer in the landing for a while. So
oh wow, so yeah.
And then like in college, there was frat parties and stuff, but
right.
Nothing like crazy serious.
Who is your? Did you ever have like a really really tough MMA fight, like a one where you just like fuck, like who is your hardest fight? Do you remember that, or did you pretty much easily win all of your fights, or?
I never had any like real. I probably had tougher boxing and kickboxing matches. MMA, at the time I was doing it, I was probably a lot better grappler than most of my opponents, so I won a lot of.
You just took them down.
And controlled them.
Right.
Yeah, most of them were pretty decisive wins or losses. I think it was like 14-1 as an amateur. I got choked out in one, so I guess that'd be my toughest because I lost. I got guillotined. But
damn, who is that?
His name was Chris Schinner.
Are any of the guys that you fought, are they still fighting, or did they make it anywhere? Or is it?
I don't really watch. I guess the most notable one, I guess, the kid in the Raul Rosa, he's like 18, 19, and he's in the UFC. I fought his dad. That's about
really?
the closest thing I can think of anybody winning anywhere with it.
That's pretty cool. He's the Mexican guy, right?
Yeah.
The real young guy?
Yeah.
So you fought his dad.
Yeah.
What was that like?
He was a very tough guy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I remember, like, I mounted him right off the back, and he overhooked both my arms, and I couldn't get my arms free.
Holy shit.
But,
so you're like, okay.
He's a very tough
Usually
guy.
mount is, like, the best, and then you get your arms locked up. It's like, no,
staring at him.
Yeah, dude. So grappling can be kind of awkward and weird sometimes. Like, somebody's, like, sitting on your head, and, I found myself in some pretty precarious situations grappling, especially when you're like new to the sport and you don't really know what you're doing, and guys are just fucking wadding you up in practice, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, if you have no idea what you're walking into, and some dude comes in here and wraps their legs around your head, you might think it's a little weird, especially for like women that have never come in here and they. Yeah,
training with girls is kind of tough for me. I mean, I don't particularly like to do it, but you know, out of respect, you do it. But yeah, like the first time I ever practiced with a girl, we were just practicing like guard, and like, you hold your hands kind of like right here, and I'm like,
I don't want to touch anything.
Right. They're like, all right, we'll do the arm bar on him, and I'm just like, my hands were like on her boobs, and I'm like, I don't like this. This is just awkward. And I kept saying sorry to her. She's like, it's fine.
I don't even think twice about it.
Like, right. Yeah. But I mean, you're the coach.
If I got to square up.
Right. So I guess we'll switch it up a little bit. You run Arnold BJJ. So have you always wanted to be a coach, or was it just something you kind of fell into? Do you like coaching, or is it just like, fuck,
There's ups and downs. Like, I really love jiu-jitsu a lot. Then, like, how do you make a living and get to keep doing it without getting, like, a real-time job doing something you hate? And then
right.
The only thing is run a gym, really. And coaching is fun. Like, there's a lot of cool aspects of it. I'm sure the same as every other profession. There's pros and cons of doing it.
Right. Is it a lucrative thing, or?
I mean, I don't drive a Ferrari or Maserati or anything, but like, I live the life I want to live.
Right. You can do pretty much whatever you want.
Every weekend, I'm probably in a different city, which I love traveling.
I follow you on social. You are all over the place.
So I like doing that. It provides that for me. I've never had to miss any meals, so that works out.
Right. No, I think it's a great career for people who are not trying to be a billionaire.
That'd be cool. Like, if I'm a billionaire.
Right. Well, like, I went down to American Top Team and trained. Well, I didn't train, but like, I was interviewing Dakota Bush, and like, some of them coaches, like, they're the guy that runs that gym, he's like a billionaire or something. I
The
can't
guy
think
who
of
runs it, Dan Lambert.
Dan
Is he
Lambert.
still-
Yeah.
Did you go to the one? In
I didn't get to
Miami?
meet him.
You go to
I was
Miami?
in the Fort Lauderdale one, Coconut
Yeah, Coconut
I
Creek.
think.
Yeah, I think it's
There's a
just
couple of them
suburbs.
down there.
Yeah.
Super cool fucking gym. I got to see all the UFC belts, and there were some cool guys in there training.
I was in Miami like a few months ago, and I was like stopping at 8, and it was close, but I didn't go. I wish maybe I would have stopped in. So
Do you know anybody at American Top Team?
I knew guys that used to train there. I don't think I currently know anyone that's training there. That was some like maybe that I would like if I was gonna make it as a pro or whatever.
Yeah.
That wasn't like my first choice. Maybe where I want to win. I don't know.
Yeah. They got it's a pretty cool gym. They got some studs in there training right now. So like, what's the? You said there's some ups and downs to training or to running a gym. What's the good and what's the bad?
Good, you get to see like people fulfill goals. You get to see people get better. Like last weekend, we had a girl who never won a tournament. She won her first tournament and was excited. And you get to relive the joy of like, oh, I accomplished something maybe that I didn't think at one time I could do.
Right.
The bad is you get to know these people and you see their failures and the competition, and if you get to know them on a personal level, their life struggles, and
Yeah.
it collectively you're with this group of people probably every night, and some of them it's your friend group, and they talk to you about life, and that's just a part of it. It's the same as like any social club or activity that you do. If you get close to people, and if you see them have a hard time, it sucks.
Yeah. No, I've been training for a long time, but just not consistently enough to really progress through the belt system. But I've spent enough time at these gyms that you do kind of get close with people, and like it's a really cool thing. And I think pretty much everybody should train martial arts at least once a week. At least once, a week,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, or just any physical activity, even if like it's karate or something.
Right.
Something that provides you activity.
I think jiu-jitsu is just so much better than karate and the other goofy ones that are out there.
I mean
there's
for,
good
like,
martial arts out there, but
for
jiu-jitsu's
self-defense.
gotta be part of your thing. Like
Yeah, I mean-
striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu.
Obviously, I'm biased. You're probably biased. It's probably the most fun. But I've honestly even considered taking up a different martial art to learn something new, even if it's like not the most effective thing in the world. Maybe
Right.
just like I've thought about maybe like doing fencing or something. Try to like
Oh, like
do
sword
something,
fighting and
yeah,
shit?
like do something that I suck at.
Right. Just to learn something over again.
Yeah, I mean, I recently like started doing different things. Then you like what it's like to like not know what you're doing and try to learn, and how frustrating it is. You're like, damn. And it's been a while because I'm always the guy like teaching the people.
Right.
And you kind of like distance yourself from like, oh, they don't understand all this.
Right. I think stick fighting would be cool, and like learning how to be effective with nunchucks.
That'd be cool.
Because like people, when you pull out nunchucks nowadays, people think you're fucking weird. But if you're good with them, dude, it's actually kind of cool. Like I've watched some YouTube videos where people are winging them fuckers around, and it's like, dude,
have
that
you
was
ever
actually
seen
kinda
like
cool.
the Dog Brothers stick fighting? They do the stick fighting, but I think they were popular.
What do they call that? It's like Filipino.
Is it
Kali
Kali?
or something?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I have a friend, his brother is really good, but they're from the Philippines. So yeah, back to, what we were talking about with the gym. When you started this, did you want to like try to leave a legacy? Were you trying to build, a team of world champions, or is it just kind of like, hey, I like coaching, I like helping people, and whatever comes of it, comes of it?
Man, I'd like to say there was a super deep thing that I was trying to accomplish. But I've never really been like, I guess it's not bad, like super goal oriented. Like I want to do this and this. Like I love winning. Like
Right.
I mean, I like my competitors to win. Even when I was like playing hockey in college, it's like there was never these big aspiring goals. It's like you go through it and you try to win. I've never been a person that sets these like crazy goals. Like this is what I have in mind. It's like go with the flow with what I'm going with. I try to do the best that I can with what I
Right.
got.
No, that's cool.
Maybe
hear
I
you.
should be more goal.
Maybe.
Might
You know.
help me, but yeah, I just never really had that mindset like that.
Right. No, there's nothing wrong with that. So for the people listening, how long do you think, like, how often should you train to if you've never done jiu-jitsu before, how long and how often should you train to, really get good and actually understand jiu-jitsu? Because I've trained for a long time but not consistently, and like I'm still terrible.
I mean, everyone's different. Like, some people are just athletic as hell, and you come in here and you teach them move, or they're very fast learners.
Yeah.
Like, as a broad general answer, if like you gotta come at least a few times a week to kind of put it together. If you're once a week, obviously better than nothing. But
Right.
it is hard to chain things together, have the memory of the move. Like, I'm sure if I was learning a new language and I practiced once a week, by the time the next week around, do I really remember the word for that?
Right, it's the same
probably
thing.
the same as every other skill set that you're trying to acquire. Consistency is key, and so many variables in athletic age,
Right.
type of learner you are.
I feel like, if you're going to train, if you're going to try to be a competitor, you need to probably be in here 2-3 nights a week or every day.
Competitor, I mean, there's like, are you a local competitor trying to win, or trying to win the world championship?
Yeah, if you're going to win a world championship, you got to train every day.
Maybe multiple times.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Right.
Like, when you have the mindset that, like, I'm going to leave no stone unturned in my training, you're probably going to be very successful.
What's the biggest jiu-jitsu tournament you ever got a gold medal in?
Probably the AJP North American Championship. I won the gi and no gi.
American Jiu-Jitsu.
That's Abu Dhabi
Or
Jiu-Jitsu
Abu-
Pro 2.
Oh,
Pro
okay.
Tour. I won a lot of the IBJJF Opens. I mean, I took third at American Nationals on the IBJJF, but
Have you ever done an ADCC?
yeah, I didn't do good.
I've heard ADCC
I lost
is
by
hard.
decisions. No, so that was like one of my things that I wanted to win this year, and my lack of knowledge of the rules led to I pulled guard before the time, and I lost the point, which was on me for not understanding the rules. But
Right.
I've struggled more in no-gi competitions than anything. But maybe I go back and try to do that. It's hard to be like, I don't like the rules. That's what I'm telling myself. Maybe I just don't like the rules because I'm not good at them. And
Right.
I lost.
So when you're getting ready for a match, do you have like a coach that comes in and helps you, or you just kind of do everything on the fly on your own?
I train with a few different people. Like the guys that are coming today, I train with Ty Perler, Todd Fox. Todd helps me a lot. And there's higher level guys like the guy Justin in my gym and the higher belts. But a lot of it is kind of like on myself. Like, if I struggle with whatever, maybe I reach out to someone or.
Right.
But there's a lot that's just strictly on me.
So like your old coach Mike Rogers, like if you're getting ready for a big grappling match, you don't really contact him too much, or
I have in the past for some of the pro ones in St. Louis. If I was going the MMA route, he'd be my first person I'd go to.
Right.
And I mean, if I ask him, he'll set up training. But I like trying to think. This sounds cocky and arrogant. I'm trying to not sound cocky. I do like to do things like myself. Like if I don't like to rely upon other people. Like I probably wouldn't start a gym and do things if I'm like, I think I can maybe do it better.
Right.
And there's different strokes for everything, folks. But like maybe that's really cocky and to think like that. But a lot of times. And it's easier, and when you have to rely upon other people for your training, sometimes it falls apart. And like, oh, I'm particular. I like things done X way.
No, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I couldn't do it in grappling because like I just don't have that. It's not my expertise. But like with business and like I'm a real estate broker. And I worked for other companies, and I never did listen to anybody when I worked at some of the bigger companies. And then I went out and did it on my own just because I felt like, I'm by myself anyway. No one at these big companies is going to help me. I'm going to have to do it all myself. So I might as well just start my own and do it my own way.
And I tell my students that the other way. Like, I'll teach you X moves. I might not be the best, but the people that like take it upon themselves the seek the best training, do better.
Yeah, that is
say
true.
I come in here and show you what I do. It might not work for you, and it might not be the best way, and I might kind of show it a little shitty. But if you're super invested and you're going after it yourself, maybe you're talking to other people, maybe you're going on YouTube, maybe you're experimenting on the mat with yourself, those people probably have more success.
Yeah. Yeah. People who are invested and are trying to seek out, the best coaches and the most knowledge, yeah, they're going to be better than somebody that's not doing that. So I've asked you this before, and I'll ask you again. Who do you think, of all the coaches that you've had, which coach influenced you the most?
Shit. I mean, high school wrestling coach is probably one of them. He was like the first, so I think that's a lot of things. Mike, obviously, has helped me a ton. He's almost like my second dad at this point. Yeah, I've been around him so long. I mean, they're all very influential in their own ways, It's,
Right.
Mike and my high school coach probably, and I had great boxing coaches and Muay Thai coaches.
Yeah.
Which, if I don't think you're a good coach, you're not around me long. So,
Right.
you know
No,
I mean?
that's how it's got to be. So, I asked every fighter that I interview, like, who's their most influential, coach or whatever. And the last interview I did was with Dakota, and he said Patrick Smith. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, cool.
He's
guy.
a pretty cool guy.
Yeah. He's always been nice, very friendly, and I don't know his background or anything, but it seems like he put, for a small little town, he does very well.
Yeah, tiny town in a little bitty garage, and he's helped 3 people get to the UFC.
I mean,
that's pretty amazing.
I know nothing about him, but he must be pretty invested in those.
Yeah, it's his life, which is cool. Especially for people out there that don't have access to a lot of great gyms. Like, I was just talking to somebody today, and they were asking about our gym and coming to Voggy's, and they're like, "Well, is that like a franchise? Is that one of them? You just show up and they give you a belt?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, everybody, it's Voggy's is a serious gym. It's pretty tough. So there are some gyms out there in the area that are not as hardcore. I don't think, with their training, it's a little bit more easygoing. It's more for the hobbyist, I would think. How do you feel about that? Do you think?
I think they're all different strokes for different folks. And, some people come into a gym and they just want to learn a hobby and they want to move through it. And that's great. I can't say that's like the wrong way to do any of it. The hardcore training, maybe that's not for him. Maybe that there's cons to that. Maybe you got a guy that loves it, just wants to hang out and have social game. He kind of gets run off from the hardcore training.
Yeah,
and then
I've seen that happen.
So you find the gym that probably best fits your personality and what your goals are. I can't say anybody's wrong for the way they approach it. It's whatever you choose.
I always tell people, jiu-jitsu is a sport and it can be a hobby, but at its core, it's fighting. So if you don't want to get roughed up and you don't want somebody kind of like beating on you, we don't hit each other, but it's still, you're getting beat down your first couple of years of jiu-jitsu until you learn how to defend yourself. Yeah. I'm like, if you're not really into that, it's not what you see on TV. You're not going to walk into a gym your first couple of classes and be triangling people and you're going to get beat up. It's going to be tough. You're going to get discouraged, you're going to get submitted, and you might even get hurt. So always fucking tap fast.
It's like I try my best to provide both. I say, there's a 45-year-old middle-aged guy has no interest in provide something that he enjoys it. Then you have someone that wants to win a world championship, and sometimes one person doesn't get what they want because they're going too hard or it's not hard enough. But however I can maybe provide for both people would be best.
Okay. I got just a couple more questions, and then we'll try to wrap it up as soon as possible. I know got some guys coming in that want to train with you. Do you think that's good for the sport that there's so many organizations, or do you think that jiu-jitsu needs to kind of shift to one organization like MLB, NHL, UFC?
That's a tough question. Well, you don't want one to have a monopoly.
Right.
Like the UFC, they kind of control the pay, and it's good that there's a few out there. If there's a lot, I wish I had a good answer for that one. I don't know what's best. I like that different tournaments have different rule sets.
You do like that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe your style favors a submission-only background, and maybe
Right.
the tournament favors you. Would it be cool if there was this one that was on TV like the NHL? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that happening, but that would be cool.
Right.
Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Stump me.
Well, it's just like jiu-jitsu seems like it's really, really grown pretty much, since I've gotten into it. I really started to take it serious in like 2015. I started training in 2010, just a little bit here and there, not very consistent, kind of like I am now. But it seems like, in 2014, 15, with guys like Gary Tonin and Gordon Ryan and the social media and all that shit, that jiu-jitsu has become really, really popular, especially with Joe Rogan too. It's starting to really be its own thing outside of the UFC and fighting, and the UFC is even picking it up to add just grappling.
Yes.
And I think that's good. And, for the longest time, grappling is not something that you can really make a living at unless you have a school and you're a coach and you're a black belt and you have a pedigree behind you. But now it seems like there's a potential that people could make a real living, and just from grappling. Like Nicky Rod, he just made $1 million in one tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think that's good for the sport, or do you think that's going to attract people that don't need to be here?
no, it's good if people can make a living with it. I don't know how because it's not a spectator-friendly sport. Like, what's the real
Right, you got to be into it to want to watch it.
Like,
it's kind of like golf.
Like, say there's a Blues hockey game, and I don't know what the average crowd is. We'll say 15,000. 3 nights a week, 15,000 people going to show up to watch jiu-jitsu competitions. Probably pretty unlikely. It'd be great if it did.
Well, you see like ADCC, but that's not every...
That's every 2 years.
Yeah, and they pack the fucking house. And even Worlds is pretty big now.
I don't know. I didn't think it'd be as popular as it is now, so hopefully I'm wrong. But
Right.
I think it'll be very difficult for...
Do you think that, what's your opinion on drug testing? Because like we've been recently, like Musumeci is attacking, Gordon Ryan and some of the bigger names for being on juice and saying that, these guys need to, get off the juice or get out of the sport, that it's bad for the sport. Me personally, I'm kind of indifferent. I think that it's okay.
Have you ever... What's that comedian? He's like, I want them all on steroids.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, these guys, I want to see the best of the best.
There should just be 2 divisions. So there should be a clean one and
Right.
Let them do whatever the hell they want, which kind of is. I mean, ADCC doesn't test. IBJJF kind of test.
Right.
And there's not enough money to test. Like,
Yeah.
USADA testing is expensive.
Yeah. Well, and Gordon, when he responded to what Mikey was saying about him, he's like, look, guys can just beat the test. He's like, you're actually just making it harder on the smaller, less sophisticated teams because they don't have the resources to cheat the test. Big name people that are already, well known in the sport, they can find the right doctors, they can get the right people around them so that they can beat the test. Smaller guys, they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty ignorant on that. I couldn't tell you for sure, but I've heard that if you're pretty knowledgeable, the tests are pretty easy to pass. Don't know if that's true. I don't.
Yeah.
USADA seems like they have a lot of money behind
Well, also, like, my thing with Mikey is, hey, if you're the best, like no one's beating him consistently. He's winning most of his matches, and he's apparently beating the guys on steroids. So if you're beating the guys that are on juice, why do you care?
I don't know
it kind of defeats the argument.
He's super against it, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, these guys. I'm training against all these guys that are on juice, but I'm winning. So does juice help you, or is it still boil down to who's got the best technique?
I think it definitely helps. I don't know. Not the same as like a power sport, but as far as like taking it to recovery, you can train more. So it is a performance-enhancing drug. The sport is performance-based. So.
Do you think you've ever competed against somebody that was juiced out and you're like, you knew?
Yeah, like I'm a Masters too. Everyone's on TRT.
Yeah.
That's everyone. I'd say way more than 50%.
Yeah. So you're kind of just like, fuck it. It is what it is. It's always going to be there. there should probably be if they're going to do anything about it, you would say, hey, these organizations you're allowed, this one you're not.
I think that would be the most fair.
Probably the best. Yeah, that makes the most sense, especially since there's already multiple organizations. So before we wrap it up, your legacy. Do you think much about a legacy, or are you still kind of, you're only 36, you got the gym, you've had a pretty good MMA career, you've won some big tournaments in grappling. Do you think much about what you're trying to leave behind, or are you trying to,
I've never really given much thought to it.
not much thought about it?
I guess your legacy is kind of what other people think of you.
Right.
So it's like I can control myself and my character, and that's about it. But what other people think about, that's on them. It'd be great if everyone thought I was like this really cool, super awesome, funny, good looking, whatever you want to say, guy that's awesome. That'd be great. I mean, I'm not going to fight them if that's the rumors they're spreading.
Right. No, I hear
I'm
you.
just going to try to do the best I can. I mean,
Right. No, I hear you. Well, I mean, you got, some of the other gyms that are affiliated with Vagi, like PSF. They're winning a lot of, big tournaments and stuff. And I know some of the other schools, they're really trying to build a really good competition team. And Vagi himself has built an amazing competition team. I was just wondering, is that kind of the direction you wanted to go to, win some big world championships? Do you want to win? Do you think you have a world championship still left in you?
that is going to be my goal, I guess, is to hopefully win a PANS or
Yeah.
a world title.
Okay, there we go.
Before
Now
I'm
we're
done-
getting it out of
Before
him.
I'm done, I would like to say that I'm world champion. That
Okay.
maybe
Yeah.
I'll cheat to do it.
Hopefully not. Hopefully it'll be allowed.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be allowed. All right. Well, Kirk, we did about 40 minutes, and we're gonna film some of your training for the tournament this weekend. Do you feel like you got anything else you want to give to the audience, or
Got nothing.
got nothing? Damn.
I'm quiet.
See, I think you're interesting, but
Sweet.
Kirk just doesn't think he's interesting. But thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And, maybe we'll have you on again. So, that wraps it up. Let's see what you got on the map.
Cool.